about this.
These two people
I am geeking out
to the Geeks Unleashed podcast.
Mark!
Jasmin!
What a nerd.
Nerd alert!
Unleashed
Television.
What are you talking about?
Anything can be a podcast.
video game.
What is a geek?
Oh, hi, Mark. The whole point is, of course, the plot is
You guys have great conversation.
I am geeking out.
Unleashed! Movies! People love movies!
All right, you guys, podcast time.
You're listening to the Geeks Unleashed podcast. Part of the These Family Badass. We take our passions and our fandoms and we turn them into conversations with you.
Hello, welcome to Geeks Unleashed. This is episode 152. I'm Mark.
I'm Jasmin.
And I'm DeVaughn.
Welcome back, DeVaughn.
Yes.
Been a while.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for coming back.
Yes, of
We
course.
picked a great one, right?
I picked an awesome one to come back on.
So since you've been gone,
Great song.
I'm cutting that in when I edit.
Guardian. We've obviously you were on for Guardians all during December, and while you've been gone, we decided to go and revisit the great idea of turning fighting games, video games, into movies. So for the last few episodes, and you're back for our final one of those. So,
Yes.
right, okay. So each week on the Geeks Unleashed podcast, we catch up on our pop culture lives and bring you a review of something adapted from the comic book or gaming world.
Yep. And before we get started, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. We appreciate that. We'd also very much love it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you're watching on your favorite listening on your favorite podcast platform, we appreciate that as well. We'd also love it if you would leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser.
Also, please feel free to donate to our Ko-Fi. All funds are greatly appreciated. So, and as usual, we're going to jump into this week's Geek of the Week. Actually, DeVaughn, as you're returning, would you like to go first?
Sure, yeah. My Geek of the Week, no surprise here, it's a video game. No surprise. It's got to be Helldivers 2 from Aaron.
I've been hearing a lot of chatter about that game.
Good Lord, is that game amazing. It is
One of my friends told me about it this week and sent me I hadn't heard about it, sent me a trailer for it.
very Starship Troopers-esque.
Yeah.
So, which is a great movie. Starship Troopers is a great movie, and I will hear no slander about it. No, the game's a lot of fun. They've been having a lot of issues just because the first game that came out, it had about 6,000 concurrent players. This one's topped off at about, last weekend, I think it was like 450,000 concurrent players.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So they've been having a lot of server issues, a lot of issues with that. They just bumped up the servers to about 700,000. They think they're going to max that out this weekend. So we'll see. But they've been doing a really good job. The CEO has been very transparent on Twitter. He's been very open about everything. And yeah, I mean, big, huge success all around for them. And the game is a lot of fun. My friends and I think the game came out on the not the 8th, maybe the 10th. I think it came out the 10th. I've put about 55 hours into the game.
Wow.
So yeah.
Man, I miss those days. I miss the games that made me want to just do nothing else and play games.
Nothing else. And it's
having DeVaughn back on is probably going to make me start playing again. Literally the last 2 months I've been a real neglect to gaming again. I think it's works. It's been so busy again. I've just been wiped out. Having DeVaughn on last year can make me pick up video gaming again.
Heck yeah. Keep on gaming, baby.
But no, it's really weird that you said that, because I rang one of my friends the other day and we were just chatting only for like 20 minutes. He said, before you go, I've got a game to tell you about. And he's like, have you heard of Helldivers? I was like, no. And sent me a trailer afterwards. I watched it. I was like, this is like Starship Troopers. And so he said it's amazing.
Which is really funny because Sony actually has the rights to Starship Troopers, which I just learned. They have the rights. And actually the first game launched on the PlayStation Vita. It's a top-down like twin stick shooter on the Vita. And then they just changed the perspective of this one to third person. So yeah.
Third person is the best.
It's the best, man. It's the best perspective for video games. So,
I don't like playing where it's like where you're in the eyes, like
first person.
first person. Yeah, where like where you're just. I like to be able to see the person like
Yeah.
running around and yeah.
I get
I'm
really
not,
disoriented when this is your view for the whole game. It's
Yeah.
like
yeah.
this is not helpful to me.
Yeah. And Xbox is doing Indiana Jones first person, which is just
I know. I read that, and I was like, no.
unfortunate.
I was excited about the Indiana Jones game, and then when I heard it was first person, I was like, no, that's not for me.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
A lot of people I've read comments did not like the idea of Indiana Jones being first person.
No,
So-
I if it was like VR, you know, like
Sure.
I feel like VR first person would work really well, but I don't know, like when I'm playing on a TV, like I like to be able to see my character because then you just have a wider field of vision in general. So you can
Right.
see a lot of other stuff that's happening around you instead of just freaking hands.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Exactly.
But with something like Indiana Jones, you want to be able to see Indy, don't you? You don't want to.
Right.
But I don't like it first person at all. It's not for me. Yeah. But anyway, no, I've heard really good things, and that trailer looked brilliant. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
But,
Put it on the list, Mark. Put it on the list.
I know. I'm not even going to say it, but yeah, on the list. So, but no, that's pretty good though. That for that game to go from 6,000 players in the first game to 450,000 in the second game, and they think they're going to top it out, which could mean really they could be a couple million by the time this is, going.
Yeah. Give it some legs. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. So that's the thing. Call of Duty, you better watch out.
Yeah. For real. For real.
Yeah. What about you, Jasmine? What's your geek of the week?
Oh, my geek of the week is another anime. This week I'm really enjoying Apothecary Diaries on Crunchyroll. It's like set way back in like the Edo period or something like that. It's like feudal Japan, and like this little girl gets kidnapped when she's 8 years old, and then she's sold into the palace as like a servant. But like she grew up making poisons with her dad, and so like she works her way up from like servant girl to eventually she becomes like the official taster of one of the consorts for the king or the emperor. And it's just she gets into all kinds of shenanigans because she's like super weird about it. Like she actually enjoys the way poison feels like in her system. She's one of like those real freaks. And so like there's this guy that is like obsessed with her, but also thinks that she's incredibly weird because she enjoys poison. And so like him and his people have to pay special attention to her because like they're like, right. You're enjoying this entirely too much. But it's really fun. It's kind of silly. It's got some serious things, but it's nice. It's nice and like easy to watch. It's not nearly, I don't know that I would call it slice of life, but it's interesting. And it's been out long enough that I'm slowly keeping up with the English release, which I'm enjoying because like the main guy character in here is the same English voice as Gojo. So he's recognizable.
Cool.
But yeah, so Apothecary Diaries, it's something easy to put on, watch a couple of episodes while I'm like on my treadmill.
Heck
and it's
yeah.
been helpful this week.
Nice. I've been I was watching I just started watching the new one for Adult Swim, Ninja Kamui.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one's good.
That's on my watch list. I haven't started that one yet.
Real good. Real good.
I haven't watched any anime this week. I did watch something terrible this week. I saw Argyle. It was as bad as they say.
No, I want to see
Wait, is that the one with
No.
Henry Cavill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, do you know what? It starts off well and it just gets worse.
Oh no.
It's too long to start with. It's definitely way too long. It's like 2.5 hours long.
Okay, but is it as bad as like Kingsman 3?
Oh no, I think it's better than that one.
Okay.
That's the one where they go back in time, right? Like
yeah.
back in time,
What was
like
it
when
called?
first
What was it?
starts.
It was called The King's Man, wasn't it? Like, I mean, look, still watch it, and they do something really weird at the end, which it's just bizarre to me. In the mid credits, they do something that can like it's bizarre. Like,
I have to watch it.
Interesting.
So,
You know, I really want them to take Cavill and do another Man from U.N.C.L.E. and just recast Armie Hammer. Like that's what I want because I really enjoyed The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yes.
I've still not seen that.
Guy Ritchie. That's my dude.
Yeah. It's
think
fun. I think that's probably what this movie was trying to be. And it was like, no, you don't have it.
I think somebody needs to do something with Henry Cavill and actually like actually, I don't know.
He's doing his own thing. He's doing Warhammer.
I was gonna say he's doing
40K.
something with Warhammer. He's like
Yeah.
an obsessive video game guy.
Yeah. So he's doing Warhammer since he's.
I just feel like someone should give him the props he deserves, like put a whole James Bond franchise around him, or a whole Captain Britain franchise around him, or
Don't tease
something.
me.
Somebody should actually give him what Warner Brothers never gave him. So,
how did you mess that up so bad? I will never understand it. I just will, because his Clark Kent casting was perfect. I mean, there's just like no other perfect casting like that happening in the last like 20 years.
Yep.
You've got the most perfect Clark Kent Superman, and you mess it up.
Yeah.
And also, all the fans love him. Like literally, everyone loves him. When he shows up at the end of Black Adam, everyone literally, the best part about Black Adam was when Henry Cavill showed up. And how do you mess up ruining what could have been something brilliant? But there we go. What do we know? What do we know about making movies?
We need to shoot our shot. We all need to go play War Game and then shoot our shot and see if we can get Henry Cavill on the podcast.
Sounds great. I'm in.
Yeah. I'd love to get Henry Cavill. Do you know, I think, not that I've ever asked Henry Cavill, but I reckon he's the kind of guy who would come on. He seems like a really nice bloke as well. So.
I would ask him about Stardust. That is one of my favorites. I always forget he's in that movie until I see him, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're in here too, right?"
I watched it when it came out, but I don't remember it. But
so good.
So
it's the only thing I like Claire Danes in.
Oh yeah, no, well, yeah. I mean, she was in Homeland. Although I wouldn't even say she was necessarily always the best part about that. But okay, so my geek of the week. It's going to be difficult to do this in sort of a minute or two. Quantum Leap season 2. The double bill finale came out this week. I mean, honestly, I remember talking with you, Jasmine, about the first season. So just to give some context, this is why it's difficult to summarize this. I was a huge fan of the Scott Bakula, Sam Beckett original series. Gutted that it ended after 5 seasons and Sam Beckett never left home. For years, I dreamt of it coming back. And then when Dean Stockwell died, I was like, I thought, no, they'll never bring it back. And then this new series came out of nowhere with a whole new cast. Although there is links to the original franchise, and there is Al's wife, the actress who plays Beth, actually from the original series, has shown up in a handful of episodes, which is quite nice. And someone who plays Al's daughter as well, Janice, was in the first season. She makes a return in the finale, which is great. And there's some real throwbacks to the original franchise in this double bill finale. But honestly, I remember saying to Jasmine, I read an interview before this season 2 to say, while season 1 had an ongoing storyline, they were going to ditch it all for season 2 and just be episodic. And I was like, that's just going to ruin it. I was like, I actually felt like the ongoing storyline in season 1 was brilliant. Clearly that was a lie, because they did have an ongoing storyline throughout season 2. And it's a massive payoff at the end of season 2. And in fact, they end with a massive game-changing ending. But I've actually read interviews and stuff like that, and they decided to end season 2 with kind of the first minute or two of what would be episode 1 of season 3. So throughout season 2, they broke one of their main rules. So Ben is the main leaper of season 2, of the new reboot series. He essentially meets this girl throughout season 2 on various leaps, which is Eliza. Forget. What's her name? No, the leader for the lead role from the 100. Not Eliza. Anyway,
okay.
You probably know what I mean. Anyway, so throughout season 2, he meets her over a 30-year period. He meets her when she's a young girl in a cafe, all the way to the fact that she's older and has had a child and all that throughout the whole of season 2. So I think he meets her on like 7 or 8 leaps, but over her lifetime, it's like 30 years or something. Although, strangely enough, she doesn't age at all. And he does have an impact on her and her child's life, which actually has an impact in the future. And her son, who we see in the final 2 episodes as sort of a 10-year-old boy, he shows up as a 50-year-old man and causes huge problems for the Quantum Leap project in the future. And essentially, he comes in and takes it over. There's guns, there's action, there's headbutting. Honestly, like in the future, one of the leads, Addison, starts fighting with a guard, grabbing his gun, headbutts him. I was like, this is brilliant. I was like, it was so action packed.
You were so worried too that it was going to be terrible.
I know. I was. When they said it was going to move to episodic, I was like, no, they're going to ruin it now. Like, just then it would just become procedural and just no. And I think actually when the original Quantum Leap started to play around with actually things going for more than one episode, I felt was good even back then. So the game-changing moment that they saved the day, they beat the bad guy, etc., etc. And one of my favorite characters was Hannah from season 2. Great introduction. I'd love to talk more about the character of Hannah, but honestly, the chemistry between Hannah and Ben was just amazing. And it's a show. It always was going to have a limited lifespan, because how can you keep, running into somebody constantly who she's essentially moving through time gradually, 1 second at a time, and he leaps backwards and forwards through time, and he's essentially never getting any older, and she's at some point, and they never say though what happened to her. They do this a lot when they end episodes. They say what their future holds. So they've never said what her future holds. So I'm assuming that means the door is open for her to return at some point. But I would imagine she won't probably be in it as a regular cast member. But this is the game changer. Hannah actually helps them in the future. She comes up with this code, something called a swap code, where someone can leap and swap with the other person. So somebody could swap out with Ben, and it ends with Addison saying, "Look, he leapt to save my life. I want to leap," and essentially, I owe him so much, because Ben originally leapt to save her life in the first season. So Addison steps into the accelerator to leap back in time to swap with Ben, her former fiance. And the last minute of season 2, you see her leap, and when she leaps, she looks across the road and she sees Ben, and so she hasn't swapped with Ben at all. But now they're both leapers, and they sort of run across the street to each other and start like hugging each other. And obviously, it's a really nice moment. And apparently, it's a bubble show, so they don't know if it's going to be a season 3. So if it is the end of the show, it's quite a nice way of getting the
happy ending.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope there is a season 3. My hope is, my true hope is that it was a swap code that worked, and I really hope that she swapped with Sam. Like, that would be honestly another game. If season 3 opens with Sam Beckett coming out of the accelerator, that would be amazing. For someone who isn't a fan of the original, if they actually brought Scott Bakula back to the present, that would
Mark's
be
still
amazing.
holding out.
Yeah.
Oh, I am.
Bakula to show up.
As long as this show goes on, that literally for me, whilst I'm enjoying the show, I'm enjoying the cast, the story. I love the ongoing storylines, and the payoffs in this 2 episodes was amazing. I'm not gonna lie, they did really well. And actually, this made me, for the first time ever, I'll shout this out, I actually went onto Apple Podcasts, typed in Quantum Leap, and I found a podcast called the Quantum Leap Podcast. And today I started listening to, yesterday I started listening to their episode where they were reviewing the last 2 episodes. And I was like, wow, it's actually made me listen to someone else's podcast. I didn't even know this podcast existed. But I was like, I was that into the last 2 episodes, I had to go and listen to somebody else talk about it. I know, like, we can't spend the whole episode talking about Quantum Leap, but honestly, those last 2 episodes were so good. Like, I even said to my wife, she doesn't watch it, and I made her watch them, and I was like, it's so good. I rewatched it with her. But yeah, no, honestly, they did really well. But no, I am still going to forever hold out hope that Scott Bakula can one day return. So I don't know. DeVaughn, do you know much about Quantum Leap? Did you ever watch it?
I don't. I feel like you have. I remember being here where I believe you talked about it. But no, I don't know too much about it.
I think DeVaughn's too young.
Oh, is he a bit younger? Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I
did you
don't really know too much.
did you
about
see
it.
the original Scott Bakula series?
I did, yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not
Okay.
know.
I used to
No,
love
no,
Quantum
no.
Leap. I've not watched the new one at all. Not because like I don't. Oh, I'm upset. Like I just don't have the time.
I think season 1 is okay. Like, I think season 1 is all right. But I think in season 2 they found their feet with the series. Season 2 is much better than season 1.
That's rare nowadays.
So I would say season 2 is a massive improvement on season 2 is a massive improvement on season 1.
That's good.
And what I read was, so you know how that series. Do you remember the ending with Sam and Dean in the original series? Sorry, Sam and Al in the original series. Basically, Sam never left home. However, his final leap that we saw on TV was that he went and changed Al's life. So Al's wife never waited for Al in the original timeline. She remarried. And when he came, so he was in Vietnam as a prisoner of war. And when he came back, his wife had moved on. And then he ended up going through four marriages, etc. And the final leap Sam had, he saved Al's marriage, and he showed up and he saw Beth and he told her to wait, and that Al was coming home, and so she waited, etc. So I found all of this out since watching the finale, was that if there had been a season 6, the plan was for Al to also become a leaper, and for Al to, because obviously Sam had saved his marriage, that he then wanted to go and help save Sam, and with Beth's permission, he was going to step in the accelerator and leap with Sam, and so that Sam wouldn't be on his own anymore. So they took that storyline idea and used that with Addison and Ben for this new rebooted series. So anyway, I should stop talking about Quantum Leap because we're going way too long. But honestly, please go and watch it, people, because apparently it's a bubble show and stuff, and I really would hate it for it to be cancelled. So
fingers crossed.
Right, okay, so we're gonna move on to our main event, which is Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. Now, I'm gonna probably struggle here, but directed by Andres and something, but Kawak. I'm not sure. Do you want to give it a go?
Andrea Barkowiak.
Oh, okay. It's probably better
He's
than
Polish.
I.
He directed all of those like Jet Li and Aaliyah movies, Romeo Must Die,
Okay.
all of that stuff.
So the screenplay and story is by Justin Marks, which is a lot easier to pronounce. It's based on, obviously, Street Fighter by Capcom.
Yes. And it stars Kristen Cook as Chun-Li, Neil McDonough as M. Bison, Robin Shue as Jin, Taboo as Vega, Michael Clark Duncan as Balrog. Then we also have Moon Bloodgood, Chris Klein, and Josie Ho.
First appearance of this game, Street Fighter 1987 arcade game. However, this movie is based off the Alpha series, which is set before the events of Street Fighter 2.
Game-wise, yeah.
Yeah, game-wise, yeah. And the release for this movie was the 27th of February 2009, with a running time of 96 minutes and a budget of $50 million, not 50 million US dollars. However, at the box office, it didn't do as well. It made 12.8 million US dollars. So that's 12.8 million US dollars.
Wow.
So,
that's the biggest flop we've had in a long time.
But
that we've covered on the podcast in a long time.
Let me tell
but yeah, wasn't obviously that well received in 2009.
I don't think it's going to change based on the conversation we had before we started recording. So very, very skim on the fun facts for this one. Even like there's just not much to talk, like not much behind the scenes stuff to talk about. So, but before this film came out, they had a sequel in mind, which they kind of mentioned toward the end of the film. It's like the last scene where Jen is talking to Chun-Li, and he's like, "Hey, I heard about this underground fighting thing. There's this guy from Japan, Ryu, or everybody pronounces it Ryu. I don't know why. Anyway, there's a guy, Ryu, and we need to go check him out. Do you want to come? Apparently Kristen Crook was signed on to do a sequel film, but when you got a $50 million budget and you only make 12, I don't think that there is a sequel happening, and obviously there never was. Also, they did offer a role to Van Damme to come back as Guile, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good." And it's probably because they didn't have enough money to pay him in cocaine, so that's probably why he said no. And as far as casting, I mean, it's not much. Robin Shou was not actually originally in this film. The original actor who was going to play Jen is Rick Yoon, which all of my Fast and Furious girls will know him as Johnny Tran. And I was like, oh, that would have been so good, because you don't see Rick Yoon doing too much stuff anymore. For the life of me, I could not find a reason why he left or was let go or was like, there's just no reasoning. It's just like, first it was him and then it was Robin Shou. So I don't know what happened there. But so we covered 4 video game films in the past 4 weeks or past 5 weeks. And then Robin Shou has been in 3 of those 4 video game films. I thought that was super weird. So we got Liu Kang in the Street Fighter movie. Yay.
When he showed up and I was like, I know they watched Mortal Kombat. Why is Liu Kang in this movie? As soon as he showed up, because I didn't look at the cast whatsoever, but as soon as he showed up, I'm like, Liu Kang?
I didn't even remember him being in this. Like, that's how much I remember about this movie. Like, when his face popped up, I was like, I said the exact, I was like, what's fighter? What the hell?
Oh man.
That's all I got for fun facts. No drama that anybody reported from this one. So
maybe it was like their version of a crossover.
Yeah.
He's just broken out of the fifth dimension or whatever it's called.
Yeah. He was tired of fighting an Outworld, and he was like, let me just go find me another Earth.
Although to be fair, he's not a bad action sort of actor. Anyway, in regards to those fun facts, I'm glad that Van Damme didn't reprise his role as Guile, if I'm honest. The tone of this movie is vastly different to the tone of that movie, and he would not have suited being in this film. And even if it was just a cameo, I know what Van Damme's like, it would have been all about him. So, and it would have been really surreal, because you would be like, what, are you connecting the films now? Like, it would have made no sense for him to have been Guile.
In the original game storyline, they said that Chun-Li and Nash were like friends or partners or whatever, but somebody killed Nash, and that was when Chun-Li met Guile, because they crossed paths when Chun-Li was out for revenge for the people who killed Nash. And I was like, when I was playing these video games like in the early 90s, I don't ever remember hearing anything about any backstories for any of these game characters. Like when I was playing these video games in 1995, like we were just kicking the shit out of each other. Like there was no like, you killed my brother. Like no one cared. Like we didn't care about that kind of stuff back then.
Let
me shout out the summary and then we'll move into review part. Right, okay, so on IMDb they always put summaries, and some of them are quite funny and some of them are not, so we'd like to shout them out anyway. When a child, Chun-Li sees her father being captured by a wealthy gangster, Bison. When a child, Chun-Li, sees her father being captured by wealthy gangster Bison. Okay, it doesn't make sense what they've done here. When she grows up, she goes into a quest for justice and brings down the criminal organization Shadaloo. I can't even say it. Which is led by Bison. That's a terrible name. Right. Anyway,
the worst IMDb summary we have had yet.
That's actually quite a terrible summary.
That is. I mean, there's like entire.
Awful.
There's punctuation missing here.
Yeah. There's punctuation. And, it was more laughable. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So get video games wise. DeVaughn, Jasmin, did you ever play the Alpha series or anything like that? Because this is obviously what this is based on, the Alpha series, which is set before Street Fighter 2. I'll be honest, I didn't even know the difference between whether you were playing. I do remember playing the Alpha series. I can be honest, I think I maybe even had it, But to me, I didn't know that was set before Street Fighter 2. They were just fighting games.
That's
Like,
what I'm
to
saying.
me,
Like, I never had any context to backstory for any of the characters when way back then when I was playing those games. I played 2. I never played the first one, but I played Street Fighter 2. That was the one that made it to Super NES, and so I played that one a lot. But that's pretty much the only version of Street Fighter that I have ever played. I never kept up with Street Fighter the way that I kept up with Mortal Kombat.
The only ones I ever played was Marvel versus Capcom. So
okay.
that's like the big extent of fighting for me when it comes to like Capcom characters. So
yeah, I think I said that when we were talking about Street Fighter, how I loved the Marvel, like the X-Men, especially X-Men versus Street Fighter. I thought that was brilliant. But no, I in terms of playing fighting games, I had no idea of people's backstories. Or I remember hearing people in like arcades or going, "Oh yeah, so and so, someone's brother," or so. And I was just like, I don't care. Like, I don't know. They're just fighting games to me. Like they're not.
Like more recently, like because I feel like 94, like that was before I had internet. Like I think the internet was around, but I think it was very hard to come by. I didn't get my first computer until 97. And like, so after that, then it became a little bit easier to find that kind of information. And now, of course, like every game that comes out has all of the characters have some kind of backstory history. There's some kind of tie-in comic or a tie-in novel or something. Like there is no standalone stuff anymore. But like, I just feel like in the early 90s, like I just don't ever remember like, oh, you know, Chun-Li and Guile have a history. And I'm like, since when? Like, since when?
I know that there's a lot of manga and comics now from Street Fighter. I've never read any of them. And you know, I got a feeling I watched one of the mangas as a kid, but I don't remember any of it. So, because one of the video games that I did buy on the PlayStation included a manga movie of Street Fighter, so I did watch it, and I thought that was weird that a PlayStation game included a manga movie from Street Fighter. But
apparently, those did better than this film.
Well, the manga movies, yeah, I can imagine the manga movies did well. So one day we'll come to those manga movies. I would be interested.
That can be like 5 years down the road. We don't have to rush.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's no rush. We can do that when we're on our pension. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so overall thoughts on this movie. I think we should let DeVaughn go first.
Yeah,
What's
come
your
on,
overall thoughts?
what you got?
Yeah, so I mean, I watched this movie the way I watched it. I actually watched it on most of it on my break at work, because I knew that I probably wasn't going to have really enough time, like because I worked kind of late today. And I think I said a few times, like within like 45 minutes, I'm like, man, this movie is not it. This movie is not good. Albeit, I think that the villain was great. I think that Neil McDonough, right? That's how you pronounce his name. I think McDonough. He plays a great villain.
He's a really good bad guy.
In every movie, TV show, what have you that he's in, he's great. I think the pacing of it was very weird. Like if this movie can't, because when did this movie come out? When did you say?
2009.
2009.
Yeah. If this movie would have come out in like, it felt like an 80s movie to me, right? Like just like very like flashy, like when the quick cuts
no
to
plot,
like where they're going,
nothing.
no plot. The pacing was weird. It just, I don't know. It was just not for me. Taboo showing up out of nowhere. I was like, how did you get 1/4 of the Black Eyed Peas here? This does not make sense to me. But I mean, and then like seeing Nash and like half the stuff that he says, like he's just like, God, I love this job.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta what did he say? I laughed so hard when he said it. He said, oh yeah, of course they're kicking people out of the slums. It's a front. I'm like, oh my God, this movie is just not, it's just not it. Yeah. Michael Clark being in there, you know, like rest in peace. Like that, just like, I don't know. It just wasn't hitting for me. But all in all, it was all right. It was okay.
It's all right.
It wasn't. I don't know. It was very tropey. It had like the very like very big trope. Like you knew she was gonna win. She had to win.
Mm-hmm.
Like she lost her mom, she lost her dad. She had to win. It just had to happen. It is what it is. I don't know.
It left nothing to the imagination.
No, I'm glad there was no I'm glad there was no sequel. Good Lord. Oh my gosh. I feel bad. All those people that went to go see this movie, the $12.8 million that they made needs to be refunded back to them. 1000%. Like right now. Oh my God. It was so yeah. Ugh. Gross.
But this was your first time seeing it.
This was my first time seeing it, yes.
Okay. So me and Mark have seen it before. So Mark, like, how did you feel when you first saw it versus like watching it again?
I can't remember if I watched it in 2000. I didn't go to the cinema to watch it, but I watched it on television. And I was okay. So I'm a big Smallville fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm quite a big fan of Kirsten's, and even I know you're going to criticize me for this. I even have watched all 4 seasons of Beauty and the Beast, which I know is not a good show. Like so I'm a fan.
Can't help your CW-ness, Mark. You just can't help it.
No. So I am a fan of hers. So when this movie got made, I was excited for her to be what I felt was recognized to be in movies. I know this probably is not a good start. However, at the time, I was like, "Oh wow, she's been put in a lead role in a movie," and I was excited for her. I remember in 2009 being excited. 2009 and 10, I'll be honest, was really busy time for me. So my TV and movie consumption were quite reduced. I got married, bought a house, and had a baby. So there was a lot of stuff, and I've actually been, really weirdly, been catching up with some stuff recently from that time. Like, I recently finished the Terminator TV series, which I'd started and never finished, and that was only literally a couple of weeks ago. I fell behind. I started watching something else the other day, which again I fell behind in 2009. I've started to go back and watch stuff that I fell behind on. This is one of the few things I watched, but I watched on television. I was excited for her. I was excited that actually what appeared to be a much more serious, I want to say it was more grounded than the last one. No, the last movie. The last.
I was going to say, careful.
This
Jasmin's looking at you.
A lot more. No, this is a lot more serious, and you can see they tried to make a good film. Like, they could see that there was a lot more thought put into it. And one of both of our biggest criticisms with the last Street Fighter movie was that they tried to put every single character,
every game character ever in
everyone that they could fit in, whether it was Blanca, Guile, Cammy, you name it. Even when Ryu and Ken didn't suit being in that movie, they still shoved them in there anyway. With this movie, it was a lot more stripped down. We just had Vega, Chun-Li, Bison, Balrog, and obviously a couple other characters, but it was really slimmed down cast, and they did try to make this like a Chun-Li origin film, and at the time, I'm not gonna lie, at the time I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was all right. I thought back in 2009, obviously we've moved on a lot since 2009 in terms of movies. I actually don't hate this movie. I think you guys hate it more than I do. I still don't think it's the worst film ever made. I think I watched it again tonight before we recorded. I can see some criticisms now that I probably didn't notice in 2009. I think having watched it now, I can see she's probably not as strong a lead as I probably felt that she was back then, mainly because I was
you were wearing your CW sunglasses.
Yeah, maybe. I still think she's a good actress. I wouldn't say she's an awful actress at all, but I probably would say that she's not as strong as I felt she was back then. I do think Neil stole the show in terms of being the villain.
Except for his terrible accent.
And his goatee was awful. Really, really unnecessary goatee. I did love Michael Clark Duncan being in it, though. I think him as Balrog was brilliant.
Yeah.
I did not. Do you know what I really didn't like was that Moonblood good. Honestly, the golden handcuffs, the whole
Oh yeah, she was literally just a sex bot. Like that was
Yeah,
that was her
that-
entire role in this film, which really pissed me off the first time.
I know. Literally, it was just like, how much can we try? How much sex innuendos and all the rest of it can we exploit for her? And like, you know, when he's out of the apartment, she just walks out with her top off. And I was just like just wouldn't. Like the door, what happened? Like, did you go and answer the door naked, or did you just leave the door unlatched? Like, I just can't work out what happened. Like, for him to end up, and she's like, "Oh, you arrived early." Well, do you not lock your door? Like, I just maybe I'm overthinking it, but that did annoy me.
But yeah.
Like, no, but it just annoyed me because I was just like, it doesn't happen in real life. I've never gone around a female friend's house where they're just walking around with their top off, going, "Oh, sorry, you arrived early."
Yeah.
Right, okay. Like, I mean, or even a male friends, like, it's like, you know. But I just thought they just really, you know, she was cast for nothing other than to be eye candy, really, and that that bit I can see right now was criticism. I probably didn't pick up on it back then, but I'm a bit more aware of it now. Look, overall, I actually still think I enjoyed it. I think there's bits in here that are not great. I think I'd rather they'd have picked their tone, because it started off grounded and then it started to shift into her being able to produce, you know, sort of the magic bolts that you can shoot from your hands. And then it did start to turn a bit weird with obviously the baby and all the rest of, like, you know, him killing his bride and all the rest of it. And I was like, really? I was like, we're going down a voodoo.
I didn't remember that from like the first watch. And so when that happened, I was like, how did we get here? Like, how I just
I think they weren't really sure what they wanted to do with him. And I think that was the backstory they created. And then the other thing with the dad, they kidnapped him, but I can't work out what he did for them. Like, they said he was the milk of the business, and
he had the connections. They used him to get to the influential people and then to like blackmail those people.
Is that what it was? I couldn't quite work it out in the end. I did get a bit lost with all of that, but however, I liked it a lot more. It was a lot more stripped down than the previous Street Fighter. I like the fact that it was mostly grounded.
Mostly.
I think it was good that we had more of a solo film, and I think if this had been successful, I think the worst thing they could have done was, say, launched into a full Street Fighter movie. I think they could have done maybe another solo movie, maybe a handful of solo movies before, you know, they had a bit like Avengers, you know, before they eventually have them go up against each other. That's probably the angle I would have taken if it was more successful. So this, to me, though, it feels, and this probably is a criticism here, to feel like it's much more of a TV movie than
yeah, definitely.
And I think they could have easily have done this movie they probably could have made this movie for 12 million, if I'm honest.
Yeah, for real.
I'm not really sure what cost 50 million.
I have probably just the transporting everybody to film it in Thailand was a big, huge part of the budget.
Probably, yeah.
My guess.
Maybe they should have just made this in America or Canada. They should have made it in Canada.
Where they film all the CW stuff.
Yeah.
They could have called up CW and been like, hey, how much does it cost to rent your set for a week? Thanks.
Yeah, they could have just done something like that. And they could have said, I don't know, when she was between Smallville and Beauty and the Beast, she could have made it like on a lunch break or something. So
I mean, it feels like definitely feels like undergrad student project kind of film. Like none of it makes sense. And so I remember when I watched this in 2009, I did not see it in theaters, but I saw it when it hit later. And I remember thinking, this isn't as bad as everyone said it was back then. But when I rewatched it this week, I was like, oh God, this movie is terrible. And it's just like, there's so many bad parts. Like, where did the magic come from? Like, why all of a sudden can we do the magic? Like, how is that a thing? Also, it really bugged me when she got the note from the fortune teller or whatever and was like, oh, it's telling you to go to Bangkok. Okay, it told you to go to Bangkok, but you come from a wealthy family. It did not tell you to go to Bangkok and live on the streets. Like, what the hell was that entire sequence of her going from being like a rich kid to like, oh no, I'm begging for food on the streets in Thailand. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? Like that transition made zero sense to me. Like 0 cents. If you did not want to like overspend, you could have stayed at hostels. You could have done anything other than just like take no money and go live on the street. That was just absurd, completely absurd. Then you have, again, the magic that comes out of nowhere. You've got the horrible plot. You've got Chris Klein, who is not good in anything. He is awful in everything that he's in. And all of his one-liners, it's just like, did some 12-year-old write this in his mom's basement? Like, I just don't even understand how this guy could work for Interpol. Like, no, I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. And I don't know. It's just like, nothing to me worked well together watching it this time. It was just like choppy, and the tone changes all the time. And so it's like, there's no through line in this movie. There's nothing for you to kind of hang on to. I love Neil McDonough. I do. I think he's one of the best bad guys in Hollywood. But his
he owns
accent,
that as well.
huh?
I saw him being interviewed recently where he's a very strict Christian and won't do love scenes with his wife.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, won't do love scenes because he respects his wife.
Yeah.
I remember I saw an interview recently where he said that Hollywood blackballed him for years because he would not like break the rule. However, he said something like he'd found a niche where he is basically the bad guy.
Yeah.
In everything, because he said the way I see it is, killing someone on set, it's not real. They get up after you finish filming and stuff like that. And he said, however, if I'm in bed with a woman, kissing them and stuff like that, he said that's real. He said, however you look at it, that's real. So he's found a real niche for himself in terms of being the bad guy, and he is.
It was Justified. He said that brought him back when he was in season 4 of Justified, and he played that freaking like awful weird bad guy that used to have like heroin addicts chained up in his bedroom. Like he was wild in that season of Justified. But he said that was like his turning point where he kind of like embraced the villain. But yeah, I thought that was a take too. Like he won't do love scenes. I mean, hey, to each their own. I think that's perfectly fine. Yeah. There are plenty of people out there that are like, I'm not gonna do nude scenes. Like, hey, that's great. I love that for you.
Yeah.
But like I didn't enjoy anything about it this second watch. Like everything was just nothing was cohesive. It was just so hard to follow. Like, and I found myself playing on my phone most of the time. So very different experience because in 2009 I guess I was sympathetic, but in 2024 I was very unsympathetic.
I did like her fight scenes though, like when she was fighting in the alleyway and when she was like running up walls, and I mean I know it was probably a stunt double, but
yeah,
but
she did actually get injured a couple of times because they were working with inexperienced stunt teams. And so like, because some of the people were inexperienced and she was inexperienced, she got injured a couple of different times filming some of her scenes. But I think the fight choreography was better. It was definitely better than the fight choreography in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That's for sure.
I thought the fight between her and Vega was good as well. It did make me laugh when the mask came off. She's like, oh, no wonder you keep that on. I was like, there's nothing wrong with his face. I was like, it's his face.
No, Vega never wore the mask to hide it. Vega was vain. That's why he wore the mask, because he didn't want his face to be injured.
No, but when the mask came off, she was trying to imply that he was like obviously hiding.
Oh, that he was ugly.
And like, yeah. Like, and I was like, be mean now. I know he's trying to kill her, but but I kind of expected when the mask came off to like see a horrific like scarred up face or something.
Yeah.
So I couldn't remember the backstory. Again, I don't know any of their backstories, and I'd be honest, I don't really care about the backstories of Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat characters. So yeah, right. Okay, there's a slimmed down cast in this, and kind of there's sort of 5 or 6 main players really. Does anyone have a favorite?
Liu Kang. That's
think
what I'm going with. Liu Kang was my favorite character in Street Fighter.
I feel like we all have the same one. It's got to be Neil, right? I mean, how can it not be him? You know.
Yeah. Who you got, Mark?
What's yours, Jasmine?
No, I'm sticking with Liu Kang.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Oh, okay. I thought you were joking. Right. Okay. I'm actually going to shout out Chun-Li. I'm going to shout out Chun-Li as my favorite. I think. Do you know what? I think she did well. I think, as far as I could see, or I'm aware of, I can't remember what IMDb says now, but from what I know is that she's a TV actress, and I think for actually what would have been in movie theaters, I think she did fairly well. I could see that she's not as strong now, but in 2009, she was a young actress, and I think as an actress, she did her best in this. And I think I enjoyed watching her. You know, it didn't all flow perfectly well, like you say. There was a lot of random coincidences or bits and pieces together, but I think she did it well. I liked a lot of the fighting stuff that she was in. And I think she handled herself well against what was probably more experienced actors. Obviously, with Neil and Michael Clark Duncan as well, I thought that she handled herself well against all of those as well. They're a lot more senior in terms of their pedigree of acting. So I think the actress Chun-Li, but I think Kirsten did well. So.
Actually, Michael Clark Duncan was pretty good as Bar. I feel like he's the only guy that read the script and was like, okay, video game character, American boxer, really kind of snarky and cocky. Like, okay, I got it. Like, I think he played the part the best way that he could have played it. Like, he seemed the most authentic in playing his part. So that was like a breath of fresh air, but I'm still picking Liu Kang.
I feel like they could have, I don't know. I feel weird about Chun-Li's like casting, because I'm not body shaming, okay, but Chun-Li
got some thick thighs.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for saying that. Yes, she's got thick thighs. She's got, she's got hips.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I don't know. I feel like the casting on that one was back in 2009. I'm sure you could find someone like that. I mean,
yeah, but like also they said, and I don't know that they wanted everybody to know this, but like, so she's half Chinese. Like, her mom is Indo-Chinese, Indonesian, and then her dad is Dutch. And so she was like, yeah, so the makeup artist on set really tried to bring out my Asian features. So they tried really hard to pull that Asian side out of her for this role.
I didn't know her mom was Chinese, so that's cool. So she was probably speaking authentic.
Yeah, well, maybe she grew up in Singapore and then they moved to Vancouver. So she considers herself Canadian, but still.
Cool. Yeah, nice. Well, that's awesome.
I assumed it was her speaking. I like the fact that it wasn't just English in the movie. So
yes, definitely.
Okay, so in regards to the structure of this movie,
what structure?
Thank you. It had none. It had none.
This movie was all over the place. Like, I mean, if you want to get technical, there was a beginning, a middle, and an end. But anything that happened in between, or how you got from one place to the other, you might as well just like close your eyes and take a pen on paper and then just like make some squigglies. And
they don't do enough to set things up and like good payoffs and stuff like that. And it felt very much to me like they made it up as they went along. I think, they had an idea, like you just said. They had the tent poles. They knew that they wanted the dad to be kidnapped. They wanted Chun-Li to go after the dad later. They wanted Chun-Li to win. And then between all of that, it felt like they kind of made it up as they went along. You can imagine they probably rewrote the script on the day and stuff. For me, the magic twist where Bison suddenly did some sort of voodoo in a cave and stuff. I really felt like that could have been set up more, or just not been done.
Not been done at all. Yeah, let's go that route.
Don't put that in the movie. It freaked me out. Literally, I sat there and it happened. I was like, What just happened? What did I
I
just
know,
see?
I actually flicked through that bit. I was like, I don't want to see this.
Oh.
But it was so weird. Okay, but it was weird for so many reasons. It was weird because it was like, to me, it felt very much like, I feel like you're taking some kind of cultural legend and then you throw this white couple in the middle of it. And like, this is all making me feel very uncomfortable. And that was all before he stuck his hand inside her stomach and pulled out a baby. Like,
right.
When I realized where it was going, I'm like, no, I'm not for watching this stuff. It's like,
yeah,
It was too late for me. The hands were already in.
But like, their reasoning for it, like, oh, he needed to become so awful, so he had to give the good part of his soul to someone else. And I'm like, who is writing this? Like, and
Who
that,
makes
you know,
such a
this could be a story for aspiring writers. Like, write the shit, okay? Like, write it. Whatever you are thinking in your head, fucking write it, because this got produced. Somebody gave these people $50 million, and this is what they did with it. Like,
They said, yeah, print it. Let's do this. Sounds great.
I mean, we do talk about it actually, and maybe we should do it now. If you were to, let's just do it now. If you were to cut or change stuff, I honestly would remove any form of the magic stuff.
Yeah,
like
all the magic has to go.
Chun-Li creating the magic ball, which again, I get it. It's from a fighting game where they could all do Hadoukens and all the rest of it, and magic balls come out. What they did initially was create quite a grounded movie. Yeah. And then suddenly she's creating magical balls.
Right.
And then suddenly the white villain with the iffy goatee is killing people in a cave, and selling his soul to the devil or something. And I don't know what's going on. And I was just like, why are you ruining the movie? I mean, that's to me, it felt like you okay, I know it's not the best movie in the world, but actually the grounded parts were so much better. You know, for me, seeing Chun-Li on the streets of Bangkok or whatever, and that kind of stuff, and the people of Bangkok, sort of protecting her, and even the cops trying to find her, and they make a reference that they're looking after her. All that more grounded stuff I loved. And then suddenly when you got, I don't know, the weird stuff of getting rid of the good part of your soul, it's like, who thinks like that? Like, where did that come from? And you know, who? I mean, back then there was not really great internet. What did he do to Google that? Like, you know, like how do I get rid of the good parts of my soul? Google, like, you know, so I just
like
can't
black
work
market
out.
Google. Like, how do I take my child's soul and imprint mine onto it? Search.
Yeah, imagine typing that in. Oh, do you know what? It's a quick segue here. Like, Jasmine, I think, remembers this story. During COVID, I was sitting on the beach.
I'm disturbed that you are reminded of a story about a guy killing his wife in the cave.
No. This was funny. Like, I was sitting on the beach with my wife, my kids, loads of our friends. It was during COVID, and it was when things were slightly loose. We were sitting on the beach, and my oldest daughter, who was probably about 10, 11 then, she said, "Daddy, I went on to Google I went on your iPad and picked up Google, and why were you Googling something is killing the children?" And
no, she asked you, why are you Googling how to kill children?
Yeah. And so I was like, I burst out laughing. I went, something is killing the children is the name of a comic book.
That's hilarious.
And then I actually said to my wife, I was like, and obviously my wife knew the comic I was referring to. Just to be clear, it is a comic, and me and Jasmine reviewed the first 20 issues from James Tynion.
Very good comic. Still,
really good comic.
Sketchy title.
Yeah, it is a sketchy title, and I obviously typed into Google. I love the fact that she was worried about it. Why were you giving
She had to wait until there were witnesses so she could ask you.
So it's like, I can't ask you on my own, just in case.
Yeah.
So,
what do I do if my dad is trying to kill the children?
And by the way, DeVaughn, if you haven't read it, it's a great thing about when you're a kid, you know, like the monster under the bed.
Yeah.
The whole premise is, what if the monster under the bed was real? And there's a whole like secret organization of hunters that go after the monster under the bed. So, but yeah, anyway, right. So I don't know how Neil's character really got the mindset of going after a voodoo cave, and that just ruined it. I would cut all the magic out.
All the magic has to go. I would agree with that. I would also not have cast Chris Klein. Like, He's terrible. Like
I
really feel like the only thing he was ever good in was American Pie, but he was playing a dick on purpose. Like, I mean, that probably was not a stretch.
Moon Bloodgood, I thought was good with what they gave her. However, I would have made her the lead cop. No, I would have made her the lead cop and got rid of all the weird, sexy stuff that they were doing.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe even just made her the only cop, really. So they could have just had a couple of unknown big cops or something like that. So
yeah.
I think she's a lot stronger with. She doesn't need that. She's a lot stronger without all that business. So, what about you, DeVaughn? Would you have cut or change anything?
I think I would have changed the locations, just kept it in one location instead of like track, because I feel like we moved.
Yeah, we bounced around.
We bounced around so many places. Just keep it in like one single area. I don't know. I feel like I didn't need her narrating either.
Yes. Oh my God, the narration was awful.
I don't think I needed her to narrate anything whatsoever. You could have just taken that part out and just had the movie play out. Like, I don't need you telling me what you're doing. I can see you're doing it on screen.
Yes.
I don't need to know.
I can see you're struggling on the streets and some woman was sympathetic and gave you an egg roll. I can see that. I don't need you to tell me that that's what's happening.
And please cut out the awkward club scene of her and dancing. I was so uncomfortable. I was like, what?
That was one of my favorite scenes.
Was it? No.
Really?
Absolutely
yeah,
not.
because okay, so I say that was one of my favorite scenes, but like tongue-in-cheek wise, because as soon as that henchman was like, okay, boys, I got it from here, I was like, they about to put some lesbian shit up in here. Like, and so that's kind of what I was waiting for. And I was just like, of course they're going to have a girl fight. Of course you're going to have a girl fight. Like,
oh my God. I literally was not thinking that. But as soon as she started looking at the women, I was like, okay. But then as soon as she came on the dance floor and was dancing and they were just like doing the same move, just staring at each other, I'm like, this is so awkward and cringy and just get it off the screen and cut it out.
When she walked like bowled in and like sort of threw it down on the dance floor, I was like, oh no, this is awful. Like that, yeah, I agree. Actually, the whole nightclub scene, I would cut that out. Like,
but see, that's how you know. That's what I'm telling you. Like, this was obviously written by some dude who was like, hey man, you know, it'll be great. And I'm sure, I bet you anything, that original script included a kiss. And the producers were like, no.
Right.
We'll give you the nightclub scene, but no on the kiss. Like, we're taking that out. Also, one of my beefs with this is most of this movie takes place in Thailand, but you don't have the Thai fighter in here. There is no Sagat in this movie. And I was like, the fuck? It's his home country. Like, when you are playing Street Fighter, you are flying from place to place to fight all these fighters. Like, he's the guy you fight in Thailand. How do you not have him in this movie? I thought that was just a bizarre oversight.
Could have sorted him out with Vega or something.
Yeah, Vega was very out of place here. Like, Sagat would have been a much better choice than Vega, especially because they're in Thailand. Like,
Vega was a bit too comic booky, where everything else, I know the magic was there, but other than that, all the other characters were kind of normal. So,
you know who he reminded me of? He reminded me of the Knights of Ren. Just completely useless. Just don't matter. The Knights of Ren from the new Star Wars movie just don't matter. They're just menacing. They're here to chase around, and then at the end, they just get their ass kicked. That's it. Yeah. That's all. That's it. Just
but sometimes that's all you need. You just need that scary face. That's it.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh my God.
But he makes a great poster, Vega.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a showpiece.
Yeah.
So. Scary guy, mask, claw.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's exactly how they pitched it. They were like, Taboo, we need you to play scary guy, mask, claw. Perfect.
But I think Taboo was in here because at the time he was working on his own comic book.
Oh.
And I can't remember the name of it. But it was because he was very much adamant about like representation in comics, and his comic book was about like a Native American kid that discovers their powers and that kind of thing. Because Taboo, he's Native American and Mexican, and so like I think that's how he wound up in this world to begin with. Yeah,
might have to look that
up. What a great backstory he has in the movie as well. So Right. Okay. So over the last 5 episodes, including this one, we've covered both Street Fighters and both Mortal Kombats. I know DeVaughn hasn't watched Annihilation, but is aware of the
That's
others.
okay. Spare yourself, please.
Annihilation. I'm sure you know it's a very bad film. But if you were to rank them all, it's 4 movies. DeVaughn, I'll just help you out. Annihilation is the worst.
Perfect.
If you were to rank them all, how would you rank them, DeVaughn?
I'm going Mortal Kombat.
As the worst or the best?
The best. The first one, because I love that movie. That movie's great. So Mortal Kombat. I'm probably gonna go, man, you guys are gonna hate me for doing this. I'm gonna go The Legend of Chun-Li, and then I'm gonna go Street Fighter, and then Annihilation. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Mark?
I don't know which one.
Yeah, who's gonna be number 2? That's a big question.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna go Legend of Chun-Li is the first one, then Mortal Kombat.
What? Hang on a second. I need to figure out how to kick someone off of the Zoom. Give me 1 second here.
That was a curveball. Wow.
No, I did that. I knew you lot would react like that.
Oh.
To be honest, I really enjoyed the Mortal Kombat and this movie. So for me, I was but okay, so Chun-Li, Mortal Kombat, the Street Fighter.
Wait a minute, though. Are you really putting Chun-Li above Mortal Kombat? Like, is that what's happening here? I am confused. Please clarify.
No, I'll be serious. No, actually, no, I will agree. Actually, I think DeVaughn did a good one. Mortal Kombat, Chun-Li. Honestly, that other Street Fighter was awful. But then Van Damme Street Fighter and then Annihilation. I actually do think the other Mortal Kombat is stronger than this one, than this Street Fighter Chun-Li. But I actually do think this Chun-Li movie is a much stronger film than we got previously at Street Fighter. So, but I think I don't hate this movie as much as you do, but I do think the other Mortal Kombat played a lot better. So yeah, I'd say Mortal Kombat 1. I know I wanted to swap them over. I knew you two would react as fondly as you did. So, but no, I mean, to be honest, I would agree with DeVaughn's ranking.
I'm gonna flip the script because I'm gonna go nostalgia. So I'm doing Mortal Kombat, Van Damme, then this one, then Annihilation.
Okay.
Oh, Van Damme's not.
But Raul Julia is so great in it.
Right. Okay. So, because I asked these last week, so I thought I'd bring the theme back again. So this is a 2009 movie. This Street Fighter Chun-Li movie has made its way not onto. I've checked a few, by the way. It didn't make its way onto everybody's worst movies of 2009, but it made its way onto some people's worst movies of 2009. I thought I'd grab a few other movies that were in worst lists, and those movies included X-Men Origins, Wolverine, Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, Pink Panther 2, Dragon Ball Evolution, the Phantom, Knowing, Twilight.
The Phantom with Billy Zane?
Yeah, that one was on a few people.
I did not remember that being 2009. I thought that was much older.
And then Twilight, New Moon. There's other ones as well, but I look. These are people's other lists, not my list. I'm just grabbing a selection of what other people think.
I know.
DeVaughn is obviously astounded by something. Look, we reviewed The Phantom last year, and actually, I think me and you both enjoyed it. So, what's everyone's thoughts on potentially what could be the worst movie of 2009? I actually don't think it's this Chun-Li movie. I'm going to be honest.
No, it's not.
It's not.
When you read that list, Dragon Ball Evolution is we don't even talk about that movie.
We pretend it didn't happen.
I haven't watched it, but it never appealed to me to watch it.
It's an awful movie. That movie is terrible. The fact that Twilight New Moon is on there, I'm a little insulted, just a little bit.
Explain.
That movie's great. It's not the worst movie. It shouldn't be on there.
I love those Twilight films. I know Jasmin.
I think the first one's the worst out of all of them, to be honest with you.
I think they did get better as they went on.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Those movies are great. Those movies are phenomenal.
I'm hoping that someone eventually will reboot it and maybe do it a bit more seriously. Like, I don't think they're done as well as they could be, those Twilight films. But
I've never seen that movie, The Knowing, but I have heard not great things with Nicolas
it's
Cage.
awful. It's really, I would say on that list, because I haven't seen Dragon Ball Evolution, that movie Knowing is such a bad movie, honestly.
Is that the Nick Cage movie?
Yeah.
It's a Nicolas Cage movie.
Oh yeah, that one was pretty bad.
Yeah, that for me was I don't know. X-Men Origins Wolverine is pretty damn awful as well, though. So
I love
is that the one where he goes to Japan?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that one is super racist and very. It's just so weird. It's so.
Oh, I love that movie.
Oh, it's so weird.
We'll talk about that one soon.
Yes,
but Fast and Furious, which is the 4th film in the franchise, also came out in 2009. That's one of the best films of 2009.
So
all the originals came back.
So I'm going to flip over. Actually, I didn't put that on there. I'm going to flip this over. This question of 2009. Some of the best movies on people's lists included Star Trek, Up, which is the Disney movie, Avatar, the first one, District 9, Inglourious Bastards,
yes,
the Hurt Locker. So, does anyone have anything from 2009 that they loved? Especially?
Underworld: Rise of the Lycans. It's the only good Underworld film.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it doesn't talk about the vampires; it's all about the Lycans.
Goddamn right. You know what? I'm staying on this podcast forever. That's a goddamn good answer.
I used to hate. Oh my god, the first Underworld I did not like. The second Underworld film is so fucking awful. Like, it's so awful. And then when the third one came out, I was like, I'm not falling for this trick again. And then somebody was like, no, you should watch the third one because it's about the Lycans. It's not about the vampires. And I was like, I don't believe you. But Rise of the Lycans, so good. And that's one of those movies, like, when I used to be like at my parents' house all the time, whenever it was on the TV, whether it was on like FX or if it was on like HBO or whatever, like, I stopped what I was doing and I watched I've probably seen Rise of the Lycan like 30 times. It's so good.
I've seen those first three quite a lot. The fourth one was awful.
I don't think I made it to the fourth one.
No, I did watch the fourth one. I haven't seen the fifth one. But
I like them all besides the newer ones. I haven't seen those ones, but the first three, love them. They're great.
I do love the first three. I disagree, Jasmine. I love the first three. I think they're all brilliant. I think they're so good. 2009, I'll be honest, I loved all of those movies. Star Trek, I thought the reboot of Star Trek was great. I love what they did with it. I think Up is an amazing, beautiful movie.
First of all, I just don't remember, like, there should have been a warning. Like, there should have been a warning before Up. Like, by the way, this movie is going to make you cry into your tub of popcorn within the first 5 minutes. So, like, be prepared.
District 9, I remember ordering a Chinese and sitting down to watch this. That movie is a really good movie, but equally disgusting. Like, when he starts turning into the alien, and I was like eating my Chinese, and I was like, this is really putting me off eating my food.
District 9 was really good, though. I liked it.
It was a really good movie. You said Avatar was in there?
Yeah.
I don't really like that movie. I'm going to be honest with you. Sorry.
Listen. I don't care what people say about, oh my God, Avatar made the most money ever of any movie of all time. Okay, sure. But
it just didn't
nobody talks about it.
No.
There is no fandom around Avatar. Like, it makes a lot of money.
Did well, though.
But like, it's a one and done. It's not something that people talk about. Like, I don't know. It's the weirdest thing to me. Like, I don't understand how it can be so popular and make so much money. And it's like, people see it the one time and then no one gives a shit.
I literally saw it one time in IMAX and I've never watched it again. Didn't even watch the sequel. Still haven't seen the sequel because I don't care.
I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Unobtainium. Like, how do you name the thing that you're chasing unobtainium? Like, come on, James Cameron. I'm ashamed of you.
I like that film, and I've even seen the extended edition, but I do agree with you. It isn't something that people talk about. Yeah, however, I do remember at the time enjoying it. Would I say it's the best movie of 2009? No, I wouldn't. I think, I don't know. I would struggle whether it was Underworld Evolution or Star Trek or District 9. I think there's so many good films in 2009.
Inglourious Bastards. What a great movie.
Do you know what? I'm going to say something. I haven't seen it.
It's
on the list. It's on the list to watch.
So
but I
good.
just never got
It's
around to it.
to me, it's maybe Tarantino's best one.
I need to. I think it might be the only Tarantino I've not seen.
That's a hard one.
I know I
Jasmine.
love Tarantino. I love Tarantino. I mean, I don't know if I love him as a person
I mean,
like
it's great in general because like any film that bashes Nazis, like that's a win in my book. So hey.
Okay, so I asked this question when we reviewed Annihilation, and I'll just ask it now for Chun-Li. Do you think when you when you were sitting down to watch Chun-Li, The Legend of Chun-Li, do you think it helped to maybe adjust your expectations before sitting down to watch a movie like this? DeVaughn, what do you think?
I think if wow, that's actually a really good question. I think so. I think no matter what, I'd probably still watch the movie. Knowing what I sat through for this movie, I would actually probably tell people to watch this movie, honestly, just because like, yeah, I didn't really like it or really gel with it, but I think for what you get, it's funny. I mean, it's a movie you can put on and I guess kind of laugh at, right? Because some of the tropes and everything are there. I don't think it's really skewed my perception on movies that like if I went to a bin and I saw a bunch of movies with people standing on the cover like they're standing on the cover, I'd probably still watch them.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's really changed my perception on that. So I think I would watch any movie that kind of like the trailer. If I saw the trailer, I'd be like, yeah, all right, I'd watch it. Just so I can see it, and judge it for what it is.
Yeah. I think there's nothing wrong with enjoying bad films as long as you acknowledge that it's a bad film.
Yes.
Like me personally, I absolutely love Ninja Assassin. Ninja Assassin is objectively a bad film, but I love it. I love it. Anytime I catch it, I watch it. Like that is how much I enjoy that movie. But like I went into this movie and I told myself nothing could be as bad as Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That's how I gauged my expectations for this film. And I was correct in that assumption. Now, did that make this a good movie? No, but at least it was not as bad as Mortal Kombat Annihilation. And I don't think like you said, DeVaughn, like I'm not going to assume every video game movie is horrible because this video game movie was not enjoyable. Like I still watch video game movies all the time. Like Need for Speed, love it. Love it. Other people might not like it, but I freaking love that Need for Speed movie. Like I'm always going to watch a video game movie, and I'm going to taper my expectations as best I can. But if it is based on a game that I have actually played, then it's going to be really hard to pull that back. But like Gran Turismo was based on the true events, but also still like based on a video game. That film was fantastic. I was shocked.
That's one of my best films of last year, Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. So I think expectations of this movie. Look, I already watched it in 2009, so I roughly remembered it. Anyway, going back in, I think my expectations of movies have vastly. I think what I want from a movie is massively changed. I think my tastes have grown. So I would imagine I probably went into this probably really looking forward to it and loving it. Back then in 2009. I think the cover, like DeVaughn said, seeing the cover of these characters, they stand out. I think it's a good action posing that they put on there. The trailer's good. Obviously, they highlight a lot of the action. I probably would go into this with decent expectations of this movie, I think. And I would say overall, though, I did enjoy it. Like I didn't hate this movie. When I rewatched it tonight, I didn't walk out of it hating it again. There's criticisms now that I have that I didn't have previously, but I think overall my expectations maybe were slightly lower than they were previously, but I think for the most part, I think my expectations were on the level of what I received. So anyway, that brings us to the part where we would rate this movie. So, anyone want to go first? Dawn, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Out of 5.
Out of
Yeah,
5.
out of 5.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Honestly, I'm not going to go as low as you may be thinking. I think I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5.
that's good. Yeah.
I don't think it's that terrible. Like I said, I think it's fun to like laugh at. I'd probably watch it again.
This would be the kind of movie where, like, if you have people over and like you guys are drinking beer and having pizza, like this is a perfect background movie for that.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. This is like a movie that you walk into the house and it is playing on FX and it's just like, oh, okay, I guess it's nothing else. I don't feel like grabbing the remote all the way over there.
Right.
And then what they keep doing the trailer like up next and you're like, okay, I want to watch that movie, so I'll just sit through this one and watch that one. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay. I think 2009 Jasmine gives this movie a 3, but 2024 Jasmine gives this movie a 2.
I'll be honest, I've had it in my head 3 the whole time. I'm happy to give it a 3 out of 5. I probably would have, I don't know what I would have given it previously. I don't know what I would have given it in 2009. Maybe 3, 3.5, something like that. But I'd give it a 3 now.
Okay, so, I think that's fair. I pulled our average down a little bit, but that's okay.
I would watch this movie again.
Yeah.
Oh no, twice is enough. I'm done with this movie.
I'm not going to put this on probably for another 10 years or anything. It's not something I would go, do you know what? I really want to watch Chun-Li. But
in 10 years though, you got to bring your daughters on to the podcast so that we can talk to them about how they think of the movie.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Right. Okay. So next week, for episode 153, we're going to be reviewing Ben Affleck's Daredevil movie from 2003. Just to be clear, we're going to review the director's cut. So I've been upselling the director's cut before we recorded.
We are not convinced, but Mark seems to be.
It's a better version than the theatrical cut. So
okay, sure.
Right, we're Geeks Unleashed everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Please follow. Say hi.
And DeVaughn, where can we find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Good Game Guys on there, and on Twitter as well.
And you can get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts: Google, Podbean, Apple, Spotify. We are everywhere. So please leave us a 5-star review and tell your geeky friends. Good journey.
Good journey.
Bye-bye.